and welcome to Consultant Proficiency Resources Wellness Wednesday. This is the first Wellness Wednesday where we're going to make a case for holistic living as a leader. And as a leader, you have the wherewithal in order to make some changes within your organization, within your department. And as we say right here on Consultant Proficiency Resources, your team will model your behavior. So it's important to consider a more holistic approach to living and working, thus providing you with a 360 model. So for those of you who attended our bootcamp, we want to thank you. And if you were to see day 3, mental health, I had a distinct pleasure of presenting on really burnout, and I made a case for the 360 model looking at a holistic lifestyle. And I say lifestyle, not diet, and preventative care. And part of that is considering a 360 of who we are as human beings, SQ, EQ, and IQ. So let's get into it. I am Cheryl, and I am the CEO of Consultant Proficiency Resources. And here at CPR, we provide a how-to. We resolve your how-to. Whatever that may be, whether you want to start a business, you're an aspiring entrepreneur, we'll provide you the how-to get started. If you want growth strategies, we provide the how-to. Whether you're a business leader or even a physician, we have the skill sets that's needed to assist you on your journey. And if you're flatlining, there are telltale signs. We have the nuggets to show you how to resuscitate. Having said that, partnership, we're in our Level Up series and we're making a case for partnering and collaborating. And that's exactly what the bootcamp was all about. We had a 3-woman sponsored collaboration starting with Black History Month in February, where we had a masterclass, and that was the introduction to the 5-day bootcamp virtually that was held last week starting March 17th. And part of that co-sponsorship include the visionary herself, Louise Hicks, CEO of Louise Hicks Consulting, then Linnell Williams, CEO of Life Management Group, and myself, Cheryl, CEO of CPR. And part of that was to put a very comprehensive agenda together with all 5 days. So day 3, we discussed mental health, and Sister Louise provided her testimony as a parent advocating for a child. I had a distinct pleasure to speak on one of my passions, which is really about holistic lifestyle, holistic living. And it's not a diet, it's what you do day in and day out. And I contend, on my case, what I'm going to be presenting to you for the upcoming Wellness Wednesday is to consider your whole being, SQ, EQ, and PQ. Let's look into it. So the SQ, we say, is a 360 approach, and we know a circle is a 360-degree circumference, so you could keep that in mind. And we want to make sure that you're connecting all the dots. There's a study that shows that there are 8 dimensions of wellness, including spiritual and emotional, intellectual, physical, environmental, occupational, and social. So what we have done was put those 8 dimensions in these 3 pockets. And we are saying, if you considered Desk 3, that you're a spirit man, and you also have an emotional mindset, and then there's a physical temple that you're responsible to take care of, that should make it a little easier to recall. And the spiritual man, we're saying it's important that you tap into the source. So I'm going to do it right here. You tap into the source. And if you're a man or woman of faith, that source should be the Most High, your creator, the architect, I called during the bootcamp. And we're saying when you consume the word in terms of what that says the Most High, that's where you get nourishment for your spirit, right? And with that level of consumption, that lends into your EQ, because that's where you get your wisdom. And your wisdom, Proverbs 2:2 reminds us to incline your ear to wisdom. So in the word, you incline your ear to wisdom, also associating with wise individuals. You use up of building your wisdom. And what we have done, and what I presented during the bootcamp, I went ahead and place my IQ over here with the EQ, because as a leader, we are told it's important to balance out your emotional intelligence with your intellectual quotient, intellectual intelligence. And for me, intellectual intelligence is not just book smart, but it's also street smart. So that has to be more balanced. And the goal is really to have your EQ, your emotional quotient, filled higher than your intellectual quotient, right? Fill it with all that empathy, etc. But the more you consume the word, we can clearly see a difference in terms of wisdom and making those wise choices as a leader. And then we've also seen that individuals who have maybe a higher intellectual quotient but a lower emotional quotient, they are more transactional and more toxic to their work environment. And that definitely impedes on creativity. The goal here as a leader for competitive advantage is to allow creativity to flow. And you want to stamp out toxicity, negativity, including personnel, if you have to call them in, right there in the tracks. But I say to leaders that your team will model your behavior. So if you yourself are toxic, they're merely modeling, emulating your behavior. So it's important that you mind your manners. It starts with home. So if you start doing the work holistically at home, it comes more natural to you even when you go to work. So we say from the boardroom to the classroom to your homeroom, right? You're able to work on it and have a more 360 approach. And then what we have done in the bootcamp, I then replaced the IQ with a P. That's your physical quotient. And most rudimentary is just saying, and I don't like to use the word diet, but most rudimentary, it's diet plus exercise, right? And for me, or most individuals, a diet is kind of like a fad. So we're looking at, again, a lifestyle. So you're not dieting for 1 day, 7 days. And fasting is different if you want to affect change, fast and prayer. But we're looking at just a holistic lifestyle. And we argued in my presentation that really your health is on a continuity line, right? And to the left, we've placed holistic lifestyle. And when we consider holistic lifestyle, we're going to use green to exemplify that, meaning prosperity and wealth, the whole 9 yards, health. So holistic lifestyle, if you want to consider it preventative care, right? We're doing everything we need to do, getting our sleep, taking our vitamins, getting enough water, consuming the right foods, ensure our plates colorful as opposed to totally white, eliminating more of the starchy white foods. And even if that means eliminating 1 meal a day for intermittent fasting, these are all things we can do, and we'll definitely get into it on our Wellness Wednesday. So I'm going ahead of myself. And what we want to do is, if we don't do all those wonderful things I stated, you're going to cause a break. And then what's going to happen? Your health is going to deteriorate, and it starts with level of burnout. Now, there are 5 stages of burnout, including the honeymoon stage, where you feel the pressure, but things still feel okay. And then you have the onset of stress. You're beginning to feel the physiological signs of it. Then you have chronic stress, where you could see it and feel it in your body. Then there is burnout, and there ultimately habitual burnout. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to use the red to exemplify that. So as your health deteriorates, right, it still starts off on the same continuum, and that's an example of the honeymoon stage, right? You're still on that straight line, but you're beginning to feel a little okay, but it's okay. And then it begins to go down slowly to the onset of stress. And then it plateaus and it goes down to the chronic stress, and then it plateaus and it goes down to burnout. And this is where the explosion really happens. This is burnout. And then it goes down again, if it's not resolved, to habitual burnout. And ultimately ending up hospitalization or worse. So we're trying to prevent from going to the right side of the spectrum. We want to stick to the left side of the spectrum as we consider, of course, preventative health. So this is a model that I've been using, and believe it or not, part of my coaching practice when I speak to my clients is about promoting, we say Wellness Wednesday, really pick any 7 days of the week where you encourage your employees to take care of themselves. And for the past year or two, we have been pushing Wellness Wednesdays, how to do it differently. So be sure to go to our blog and look out for Wellness Wednesdays, view our Wellness Wednesdays videos when I'm taking my exercise outside, or even when it's colder, turning your office space into a workout space and still getting the job done. So we're going to introduce some more further explanation as we move forward, but we wanted to share this model with you on a Wellness Wednesday, hot off the press, as soon as we've completed our boot camp, which was last week. So I pray that you join me on this journey, and if you're indeed a leader, it starts here. It starts with you. Make those changes so then your team will model your behavior. Make those changes for themselves. As a team, you will see that you have a more positive, healthy work environment, which will make it more creative. And the creativity, looking at our level 2 on YouTube, how to have a competitive advantage or competitive edge, comes from indeed individual ideas that will make you set apart or stand out. And that's what you want for competitive advantage. So continue to stick with us as we break from our CPR More Leadership Coaching Tidbit. We resume in the summer of 2024 for level 3 building block. Until then, we'll be bringing you different views, including our Wellness Wednesday, and we have our upcoming vlogs as well. And don't forget, we're on Spotify podcasts. To see any of the highlights from our bootcamp, be sure to go over to Spotify podcasts, go to CPR and listen in. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next Wednesday.